Alright, before I get all the comments from Marvel stans talking about my shirt being Batman when I am reviewing a Marvel TV show, I am fully aware of it. You guys just gonna have to be mad about it. What's going on, you guys? I am here for my gifted review, my gifted recap. Okay, the reason why this is so late, I recorded it early this morning, but I looked back at it and I realized how bad it actually was. For some reason today, I just can't get my thoughts together. It's really, really sad. And even though I do take some notes, like I am, I have to be able to really explain things, and it's really difficult for me, so definitely kind of bear with me with this one because it's gonna be a mess. I like this episode though. It was actually really, really good, and we had a really big development. Okay, it starts with London in 1952. This is the furthest back that we've actually gone with a flashback. Like, we've only gone like a couple of years, months and stuff, but we've never gone like entire decades in the past. So we see this this newspaper article, and it's talking about some, siblings on the run, like terrorist siblings on the run and stuff, and we see, the guy, and, his sister. They are, I guess they're the terrorists or whatever, and the authorities, they come into the house and they, try to capture them or whatever, but then they link their hands together and they cause like an explosion to happen. It seems like it's a flash of light, which leads us to the present, but I guess it was an explosion. Anyway, in the present, okay, Lorna is angry at Marcos. Pretty much everybody's angry. Lorna's angry at Marcos because of the whole like Carmen situation, and Clarice is still angry at Dreamer because of her, putting the memories in her. So that, I mean, it's still going on a few episodes later. Okay, everyone's angry. Reed talks about going to see his father to ask about Trask Industries. We know in the last episode they found out about that symbol and about how it relates to Trask Industries, and he knows his father worked for them in the past. So but he also talks about his father and how he, felt that he didn't really care much about him because he was always so consumed with his work and everything. And even one time when he really got sick, really bad in the hospital, he was like dying or whatever, and his father didn't even care enough to come and see him, which we see a development of that in the future scenes of this episode. But it does explain a lot of kind of his disposition as a parent, and kind of why he is the way he is, why he was the way he was. Now, he is a little bit better now, and, he is a little bit better now with trying to understand his children and getting to know them a lot more, becoming closer with them. But definitely before, he was a lot, he was really wrapped up in his work. He didn't really have a lot of time for them. So it's interesting that it really reflects on his own parenting with his father, with his situation with his father. So, okay, John, Marcos, Clarice, and a couple of others, I think. I don't know who else was with them. I think it was just those three, though. They head to this church, and where this priest is harboring some mutants who are on the run from Sentinel Services, doing the work of God. Let me stop. Anyway, so he's harboring the mutants in the shed, and we meet a new mutant. Her name is Esme, okay, and she's a telepath. I use quotes because it doesn't seem like she's like a telepath, like a Psylocke or an Emma Frost, or definitely not a Professor X or a Jean Grey. Definitely not on that level, but it seems as though she can detect someone's thoughts when they're close enough to her. And she said, she tells John that she's gotten these thoughts, these weird thoughts from one of the mutants who was with them, and she shows him who it is, and he goes up to her and starts to question her, and notices that she has the same brand that Pulse had on his wrist. She has the same one on her wrist. And at this moment, this bitch goes crazy. I mean, she starts ripping people apart. She, like, jumps on people, starts kicking them down, and she's, like, super fast, and so she's just going here and here and here, and I'm like, oh, I was like, girl, I was like, damn. I was like, she was going crazy. But anyway, it's crazy. I was like, get this crazy bitch.
Crazy bitch?
They finally detain her after, like, all three of them had to, like, come together and do something. I was like, damn. I was like, that was crazy. So back at the MU, Caitlin is helping the people who got injured at at the church and stuff, and she talks to Esme, and Esme is able to kind of look into her mind and see that she's like, she's worried about Reed, about going to see his father and stuff, and she wishes that she could go with him and all that. So we're gonna move on and finish up with the whole prison situation with the spy. Okay, so they're trying to get the girl, and her name is Chloe. We find that out later, but her name is Chloe, and they're trying to get her to speak and everything. They're trying to get her to like tell them how she got to where she is and why she's working with Trask and what they did to her and stuff. Obviously, she's not talking, and it seems like she's kind of just out of it and stuff. And they decide to bring Dreamer into the prison, but Dreamer says that, she's moving too fast, and even if she did inhale the smoke that she blows out of her mouth or whatever when she wants to get into someone's memories, there's no guarantee that she will actually be able to do anything, which no surprise there. I mean, she's been pretty much useless this entire time. I mean, I look, I mean, yeah, she was helpful when she did, put the memories in Clary's, but since then, what's the point? I mean, I don't really care. Again, I don't really like her, and it's going to continue to be like this. For a while, it's going to continue to be like this. Anyway, so when that happens, Lorna, she draws some knives and threatens her with the knives and whatever, and here comes Marcos. He's like, oh, you shouldn't do that, and, we can't be like them. And she's like, well, she basically calls him a hypocrite because of the fact that he's working with Carmen and the drug cartel and stuff. And it's the two of them, they're just going back and forth the entire episode. They go and get, like, Caitlin, Caitlin and I think the kids, they come in and they are like trying to figure out how to detain her because she's just, once they open it, that like the girl, she's gonna go crazy again, and it seems like she's going into a little bit of a withdrawal. They notice that she's like kind of shaking and moving weird, and she looks like really really out of it and sweating and stuff. So they believe that she is like suffering from like a cold turkey sort of situation, and they mention this mutant drug called Kick, and for some reason Lauren mentions it. I'm just like, what the hell do you know about that? Like, Lauren's like, it's called Kick. It's a mutant drug, and it amplifies the powers and stuff. I'm like, girl, how you know? Dude, I thought she was. I mean, I guess she's not a goody two shoes. I mean, I don't know if she's actually done the drug, but I'm just saying, like, I'm wondering what kinds of things she got into when she first discovered her powers, because as we know, she had already had her powers for 2 years before the start of the show. So it will be interesting if they, go a little bit into, the time period between her getting her powers in the beginning of the show when we see her already having her powers. So anyway, together, Andy and Lauren, they're able to like hold her back so that Caitlin can administer a tranquilizer, a sedative, so that she can like calm down or whatever, and they are able to put her on the table and strap her down and everything. But it seems as though she's like dying, so they're gonna try and get the information out of her, before she, kicks the bucket. It's really sad, but it is what it is. So while they're doing that, Sage comes in and she pulls up her, like, she's able to find her file in the information. She's able to get information on her from the files that they got from the Justice Center. And basically they find out her name is Chloe, like I've been saying, and apparently she went into a clinic to get treatment for her child who was sick, but they said they wouldn't treat her child because her child's a mutant, and then she turned around and destroyed the clinic, so Sentinel Services was obviously called. And then later on, it seems like she is calming down, but she wants to speak and she wants to tell them about it. It seems like she's like back in her right mind, but she's not able to speak at all. So, they go and get Esme, and Esme, she comes in and she's able to kind of peer into her mind and see what happened to her. So apparently also they killed her husband and then took her daughter away to Trask Industries. So maybe we'll see that in the next episode. Maybe they'll like go on another rescue mission to Trask to try and rescue them. At least now they have Blink, so it'll be easier for them to do a rescue mission without causing a whole bunch of damage and stuff. Um, just saying. So Clarice, she's sitting down. She sees this girl. She has like the blue skin. I thought it was really cool. And she sits down with her and she starts talking to her and everything. And she notices that the dog takes a liking to her, and she's like, oh yeah, because we're different and everything. She's like, you have your skin, I have my eyes, my ears. And she tries to cheer her up and everything, and she asks her how she got to the church or whatever. And the girl, and her name is Nora, the girl, she tells her about how her foster family, the family that she was staying with, they were like beaten down and stuff. And she mentions the name Mama D. And why did I think about in that order?
Order me some wings and some fries, and don't forget my bottle. In that order, 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 in that order.
I'm a mess. I need to stop. But anyway, so she mentions a Mama D, and she recognizes the name as the owner of the farmhouse that she used to stay at when, and the one that they went to in the previous episode. So they have that connection, and so her seeing all that horrific stuff occur, she really wants to help her out. So what does she do? She goes to Dreamer, and she's like, I'm not coming here for myself. I'm coming here for this girl because I need you to remove the memory of that horrific event, okay, so that she doesn't have to dream about it, because she's been dreaming about it every night and stuff, and it's she's not able to sleep or anything, and she keeps on seeing the image in her mind of them being shot down and everything. So she gets Dreamer to remove the memories, which is the first thing that not the first thing, but one of very few things that Dreamer has done that's been interesting to me, but I still don't like her. Anyway. Look, I'm a hard sell. So, one of the main things that happened in this episode, obviously, was Reed going to see his father. And his father owns, like, an antique shop now, and he's not, like, doing anything shady like that anymore. So, so he goes and sees him, and he's like, oh, well, we haven't spoken in so many years, and whatever. He's upset about that, and apparently, obviously, Sentinel Services came to question him, just like they did Reed's mother, but he told them the truth. He asked him what he told them, and he's like, well, I told them the truth, that I haven't spoken to you, I haven't even met my grandchildren, and he seems all upset about that. But Reed is upset at him because of the fact that, how can you be saying all this to me when you didn't give a damn about me? And he said that I did everything for you. The reason why I was even at Trask Industries is for you. And he doesn't understand that until he explains it. But what happens is he asks him, what the kids' powers are. And in this moment, he tells them, that, Lauren can make the shields and Andy destroys things. He's like, he tears things apart. And, then his father kind of gives like a sullen look, and he's like, oh my god, I failed. And, obviously Reed wants to know what he's talking about. So he brings out this photo of a man, and he's like, this is my father. And shows him with the sister and whatever, and basically tells him that, the two of them, they were pretty much like terrorists. They used their powers for personal gain and everything, and apart they had the same powers as Andy and Lauren, but together they produce a very like destructive force, and they terrorize people with it. Okay, and they called themselves Fenris, the wolf. I don't know if I believe he said they called themselves Fenris, or it was the name that they went by, was Fenris. And, Reed's dad is also a mutant, and he said that his research at Trask, and he didn't even know that Trask was open at first, like, he didn't know that it was still going on. He's like, Trask closed down, years ago, and he's like, well, they've reopened, they started doing stuff again, and, he was like, my research was peaceful by nature. He was doing research to remove the X gene, and remove the X gene in himself and everybody else that wanted it to be removed, for powers that were like deemed to be really, really dangerous, or for people who just didn't want to be mutants or whatever. But he was only able to produce one. And and so he gave it to Reed. And it explains why he had gotten so sick in the hospital and stuff, was because his body was trying to fight off whatever the serum was doing to him. I mean, you're altering a gene, you're trying to remove an entire gene. Obviously, your body is going to have, adverse effects. Like, I mean, it almost killed him. And that's also the reason why his father did not go to see him in the hospital, because he knew that he had done that to him. And he was beaten over guilt, and he hated himself. He said he hated himself over that whole situation. He didn't really want to do that to him, but he was trying to save him from himself and the rest of the world, because he knew how dangerous the powers were that his parents, passed on to him and down the line, down to his family. And they even tried to make Reed's father the same as them. Like they tried to train him in the same way to cause terror with his powers, but he ran away, and he wanted to run away from that, and so that's the reason why he went to Trask. But again, he wasn't really all that successful, because he was only able to make one serum. So he passed it on to his son, and I guess he thought that it would continue on down the line. But that's the thing about genes. With all of that, Reed finally understands, why his father was so kind of distant his entire life, and they come to an understanding. He apologizes for all of that, and they hug it out or whatever. While this was going on, okay, crazy Sentinel Services and crazy ass Campbell, they are looking, they're sent out a search to look for Chloe, who they lost obviously from the church, and they're not able to actually track her down because her tracer was removed or whatever. And so they're also going to the antique shop, and they arrive at the antique shop because Campbell kind of deduces that they know now about Trask because of the files that were stolen. They should know about Trask, and so this is like one of the only places that they would probably go to find out more about it, obviously, because Reed knows at this point that his father worked for Trask. And Campbell knows Reed's father because he used Reed's father's research as kind of like a blueprint for his own, and he even said it. I used your blueprint to remove the X gene in order to enhance it. So we see that with Pulse, and Pulse comes out. He's using his power to turn off John's powers, so they're kind of at a disadvantage at first. So his father actually goes downstairs in order to cover for them while they try to escape. And, he's actually able to activate his powers. And we see that it's kind of like the same power that we saw in the beginning, that bright energy. So I'm guessing that's, what he's using. But it's interesting how he's actually able to use that power while Pulse has his powers in it. And he was like struggling with it too. He was struggling to keep it under control. But they end up shooting him and he killing him. And at that moment, his powers kind of go out of control, and it causes like a meltdown and an explosion, which badly injures Campbell and unfortunately kills Pulse. But in the last moment, he talks to John, and he's like, I'm really, really sorry for what I did and everything. And it was a really good moment for them to kind of reconcile after all of that happened. And John is like, I'm going to get revenge for you. Like, I'm going to get the people who did this to you. Unfortunately, Reed's father is dead at this point. So Reed is mourning his father. He has this burial for his father, throws the dirt over, a photo of him and everything. And he goes and he shares like this moment with his family. And at the last scene, we see him. We see the kids, we see Lauren and we see Andy, and we see them holding hands, and that in itself is a big, big moment of foreshadowing for what is probably to come in the future episodes. The story is getting a little deeper, and I can see that we're going to have even more reveals in episodes to come. I really like this episode because, it wasn't too focused on it. There was action scenes, but it wasn't too focused on the action, but I didn't miss it in this episode because there was so many good things going on. So I actually did like this episode. Like, it was good, and it was good to build upon the foundation from the first several episodes, you know, and we're finally getting somewhere with the plot. And like the plot has developed a lot in this episode, a lot of good plot development in this episode, and I like that for that very reason. But anyway, let me know what you guys thought about the episode. That was it for The Gifted, episode 8. I was able to kind of get through it. I mean, I probably am gonna have to edit a whole hell of a lot, but I don't know what's going on with me. I think it's just lack of sleep. I really have not slept in the past like couple days. I've only been getting like 3 to 4 hours of sleep, and sometimes less, because I've been kind of working and like stressing out a lot. And when I'm like stressed out, I can't really sleep. But I mean, it is what it is. I try to do as much as I can for you guys, because I know that, you know, I'm starting to get a following. I reached 1,000 subscribers. Again, thank you guys so much for taking an interest in my channel. I'm loving the reception. You know, I love all the comments, the good, the bad. But anyway, that's it for The Gifted. I hope that everybody has a great day. I will probably be posting another video today at some point because I do have some reactions to do, and it's been about a week since my last reaction, so I definitely want to get back into that. Check out Lauren's song, Steve Aoki, and definitely check out Soraya's song. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I hope everybody has a great day. Take care.